What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Uprise podcast. Today, we're going to talk about some general NBA things, some news. We got Steph Curry going down with a broken hand. We got the Phoenix Suns surprising everybody. And then we're going to talk a little bit about our Blazers, mainly the injury issues that are plaguing the team right now. What's up with Zach Collins? Is Hassan Whiteside going to play tomorrow? And then when is Powell going to return? So I'm joined here by my co-host, Eric Brandt, as always. Thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. We're going to hop straight into it. What's the first topic you want to talk about, Eric? We got a few.
Let's talk about the Blazers right now. Obviously, Whiteside had the little knee injury last game. Seems like he's going to be okay. Little scary at first when a big man goes down right now with holding his knee, but I think he's okay. They held him out of practice today, but I expect him to play tomorrow. The biggest question, though, is what is going on with Zach? Why aren't they giving an update on what's happening? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm surprised at how they've handled this. And honestly, I guess they're waiting for doctors to evaluate him again, but they were saying that was going to happen right when they got back to Portland, and apparently it still hasn't happened, which makes me wonder why it hasn't happened. You'd think that they'd have doctors on standby ready to evaluate Zach right when he got back. And a lot of people are trying to read into this, and I don't know what type of sign this gives me. I don't know if this means, okay, he might have something torn and he might be out for months, or he might be completely fine and they just want to see how fast he can return, and it might be in a couple of games. I have no idea what this means. There's a wide range with dislocated shoulders,
Right.
Because you can dislocate it without tearing anything and pop it back in cleanly, and then it's just like, when is the swelling down enough where you're able to move your shoulder so that you can play? If you tear something, you have to have surgery to repair that. So then you're waiting until the recovery from surgery is complete, which can take a while. So I have no idea. I'm hoping it's not the latter. I'm hoping he can return in a few games, because what I noticed once Zach was gone is he was one of my favorite players to watch early on in the season. He was a lot of fun to watch, and his development is a very intriguing part of this season. His rim protection next to Whiteside is a lot of fun. So I've definitely missed having him out there on the court.
Well, especially without Gasol and Nurk, I mean, we're really thin up front, so having a big man injured really hurts us right now in the rotation. And then also, so initially I thought they said it was a clean dislocation, and then
I think those were Zach's words.
But other than right after the game or whatever, there hasn't been much in terms of anything other than I heard today that they were going to get a second opinion on the results or something, which scares me too.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it was good why they'd get a second opinion. But I don't know. It just didn't look that bad either. So I don't know. It's a hard one to tell.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Anytime you're talking about injuries with a Blazer big man, I
fear the worst.
That always worries me. That always worries me.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about a shoulder injury, because shoulder injuries are kind of scary, man. Like shoulders or knees. Because anything like up here, you talk about your clavicle, your collarbone, your shoulders. Those are stuff that can knock you out for an entire season. That's pretty much the only thing other than leg injuries that can knock you out for an entire season. But we had Whiteside going down too, and it was just like, well, here's the fourth big guy to fall. We already don't have Nurk. We already don't have Powell, who I haven't heard anything about, which surprised me. They were I heard a couple of weeks was his return timeline, and he still doesn't seem to be close to coming back. I don't know what the deal was with that. And then we lost Zach, so when Whiteside went down, it worried me, but I could also kind of tell that that was a bit of a hyperextension. Now, there is talk about him possibly not playing tomorrow, which I think is surprising because he came back and played the second half of that OKC game, so he seemed healthy enough to play right after it happened, so I don't know why 3 days later, why he wouldn't be able to play.
Yeah, the only good thing about Zach is it's his non-shooting hands or arms, so you'd think it wouldn't be quite as bad even if it was bugging him. He could still play through it maybe even. I mean, obviously, if he has surgery, you wouldn't be able to do that, but as long as it's not something super serious, it doesn't really affect him as much as if it was his right shoulder, thankfully, but
Yeah.
still bad.
It just sucks that we're having to play doctor this early on in the season. The People's Mix says, didn't Myers dislocate his shoulder in 15-16 and he missed the entire season? I forget what the deal was with Myers.
He did,
Because he might have dislocated, but he might have also torn something. That's the thing.
yeah.
There's different degrees, so I don't remember quite what Myers was.
I'm pretty sure he separated his shoulder, which is
Yeah.
worse. But we still don't know, other than what Zach said, for sure if it was
I mean,
separated.
you would think that the fact that didn't really have much pain the night that it happened after it popped back into place, you'd think that'd be a good sign. You'd think that if something was torn, he'd be feeling pain. But, me and you are Niners fans, and the reports yesterday for Quan Alexander, which is a Niners linebacker, was how everybody was optimistic because he didn't have his arm in a sling and he didn't have much pain. And then it was indeed true that he had a torn pectoral muscle, even though he didn't have much pain. So,
Yeah.
you know, we've seen this before with athletes from all sports where, oh, they're pretty optimistic. They don't think it's anything bad. He didn't have much pain, and then it's something season ending. So hopefully it's not that with Zach, man, because that'd be a huge blow. Then we would need to go out and sign a guy like Kenneth
Yeah,
Fareed
for sure.
or somebody for depth. I just dropped that video on Kenneth Fareed. If you guys haven't checked it out, make sure to go do so. It's a short little 4-minute video talking about why I think Kenneth Fareed would be a good free agency target for us. Pretty much the only guy I'm interested. But right now our depth for big men, having to rely on Tolliver, Hazonia, and Labissiere all for big minutes is kind of scary to me.
Yeah, I just hope they can stay afloat. Just like on that road trip, we went 3-1, even though we didn't play great in any of those games other than Dame in fourth quarters.
Yeah.
But yeah, just keep staying afloat this 20-game stretch. We're above 500. That's all you need to be through this first 20 games. So yeah, however you can get it done, whether it's Tolliver hitting that big three or something, we just need people to step up. But yeah, it's hard when now we're relying on Whiteside, who's banged up, to not go down, or we're in big trouble.
Yeah. There's a whole different feel between trying to win tough games early on, waiting for Zach Collins to return, and Zach Collins being out for the season.
Right.
So, or out for a very large extended period of time. And that's the thing, though. If we're able to stay afloat, Collins might return around the same time Nurk does. That could be a very interesting dynamic, having both those guys return around the same time. Then what do we do with Whiteside? If Collins is out that long, I could definitely see us signing a guy like Fareed. Then all of a sudden we'd go from a deficit of big man depth to a ton of big man depth. So it'll be very interesting. I'm just waiting on that report for Zach Collins. I keep checking Twitter. I keep checking news sources. I'm hoping to get a report. I have ESPN notifications on, so it'll flash across my phone screen because that's very important for the Blazers. But
Woj will have it first too.
Woj will have it. I got his notifications on, so just hoping it's not bad.
I understand the Blazers being vague about Nurk's recovery because they don't want to be asked about it every day, but
yeah, and we know what's up with
Zach's shoulder. It's really weird how they aren't saying anything.
Yeah, that's kind of been their thing lately, though, is being vague. They were being vague about Powell too. Terry hasn't talked about him. I don't even know if he's gotten asked about him. But it just seems like their whole attitude towards Powell is, he's recovering, he's close, he'll be ready when he's ready. But I mean, we're into November. It's November 1st right now, and still no word on Powell returning soon. And right now, we need him.
Right.
So
at first, I thought maybe they were just like, okay, we don't necessarily need him at the beginning of the season, so let's just be really cautious with him. But then when Zach goes down, he's still not being activated, like in the OKC game. Then you start to worry, like, because we need a big man, like he's not playing. So there goes that theory.
Yeah. I don't know. With guys that are 39 years old, the recovery is going to take longer than younger players, but still, man. I thought he was going to be ready for the start of the season when we signed him. I thought he was going to be ready for the start of the season once we entered training camp, and it's November. So, I don't know, man. The guys that are there right now aren't doing a terrible job, I guess. I was maybe a little bit too hard on Tolliver early on, but that's still a guy I'm not super fond of playing big minutes for us. Hazonia apparently is having trouble getting down the playbook, and if you're running the bench unit as a point forward, you need to know the playbook. And apparently Stotts has had to bench him because he's forgotten schemes on both sides. He's forgotten plays, which is something that I noticed in the OKC game. There was guys pointing at him to go to certain spots, and he looked confused out there. And apparently he's also forgetting what defensive coverage they're in too, which Portland is switching up their defensive coverages more this season. But you have to have everybody on the same page, because how you guard the pick and roll affects how guys defend behind the pick and roll, where they're positioned, where they help from, that type of thing. So if one guy's not on that page, you can have defensive breakdowns. So Mario's one of those guys that we have to play right now for big man depth, a guy you can play that power forward position, but apparently he's struggling picking things up. So not much confidence in our big man depth right now.
Yeah, it's tough. I thought he'd been playing pretty good on defense, but if he's not in the right spots and stuff, that's concerning with the team defense.
I thought he was playing good individual defense, like one-on-one defense, getting deflections, getting his hand on the ball, keeping guys in front of him. I hadn't paid much attention to him in a team construct. How is he helping? Is he positioned right? So that's something I'll be watching, or trying to watch in the future, to see if that's something that he's struggling with or maybe improving on. But yeah, we did get a favor by having Joel Embiid suspended for tonight.
Tomorrow night.
So it'll be a lot easier tomorrow night. That's right. I'm used to every other already. We got that 2-day layoff. Yeah. What am I saying? You frazzled me. I don't like being wrong. No, I'm just kidding. Not correct. You're good. But yeah, so they're gonna start Horford at center. They would have started Horford at power forward and Embiid at center. That would have been really tough to match up against, especially Tolliver against Horford. So now you're moving Horford to center, and maybe Ben Simmons is playing power forward. That might be actually a decent matchup for Tolliver. I'm not sure, because Tolliver could just kind of sag and turn Ben Simmons into a shooter, because he hasn't shown that improvement this year from the 3-point line. So it'll be easier without Embiid, because Embiid's a great player and he's a front court player, and right now we're tough in the front court. Embiid, of course, got in that tussle with Karl Anthony Towns, which if you haven't watched that, then you guys should definitely go check that out, because it's a pretty entertaining fight. I thought Ben Simmons should have been suspended too. Before we get to that, shout out to Elias for the $5 donation. Thanks for the content, man. I appreciate your donation. Greatly appreciate it. That's the highest donation we have for all our live streaming. So I appreciate it.
Cool kid trolling.
Cool kid. Damian Lillard very overrated, and the Blazers are overall trash. The only reason they made the Western Conference Finals was because they've hide user on channel. Bye, cool kid. Thanks for tuning in. I just hit him because I ain't taking that trolling. Alrighty, so I thought Ben Simmons should have been suspended too, though. You hop on a guy's back at the bottom of a pile and immediately put him in a chokehold. He wasn't. He could have played peacemaker by just holding him down a little bit. The dude put him in a chokehold. What type of peacemaker move is that?
And you get suspended for going like 5 feet off the bench if you're on the bench, but choking someone out isn't a suspension. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't understand that, man. Like, yeah, CJ taking 2 steps off the bench in a preseason game is worse than Ben Simmons going MMA trying to get Karl Anthony Towns to tap out.
He literally tapped out. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. But anyway, we got Ben Simmons. I think they might start Thibault, Josh Richardson to go up against our backcourt. That's going to be tough tomorrow. Those are 2 really, really good defenders. Even though Thibault's a rookie, he's already really, really good defensively. But also their shooting's iffy. And of course, 3-point shooting was our number 1 struggle. So we should be able to have a decent defensive game. It would be nice to have Zach to protect the paint, because we wouldn't really have to run guys off the 3-point line. We wouldn't really struggle getting out to the 3-point line because those guys aren't good shooters. Ben Simmons is not a shooter. Josh Richardson is streaky, but not super efficient. He's solid though. Thibault isn't a good shooter. Horford is streaky and iffy and doesn't shoot much. So that's the thing, man. Like, we wouldn't have gotten beat in that area. It would have been nice to have Zach to help protect the rim against Ben Simmons drives and against Al Horford inside. But I actually think defensively it's a good matchup for us. Offensively, it might be tough because of how good their perimeter defenders are.
Yeah, and if we can, I know our bench hasn't played great so far this year, but their bench isn't great either. So if we can just like even it out with the benches in this game, I think we can give Philly their first loss.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome too, because they're the last undefeated team in the entire NBA, so it'd be nice to give them their first loss. It'd be nice to go 4-2, because honestly, the game after that is looking like an absolute gimme, which I would have never expected. That's in Golden State on Monday.
Yeah.
And that's without Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. You know, they got D'Angelo Russell and Draymond Green are their only above average NBA players. And that's a game we should easily be able to take care of. So this is two games where the opposition is a little bit, what's the word? They're missing some talent. Right. So that's the thing. We were looking at these two games. It's like against Philadelphia, and then on the road in Oakland, or in San Francisco now, against the Warriors. Those were two very, very tough games. Now, with the guys they're missing, it's two games that we could easily win, and it'd be really nice to start 5-2, because I wasn't expecting us to be able to start 5-2. So right now, that's the goal.
It's weird saying that Golden State is like a must-win game almost, but
yeah,
like we better not lose that game without Curry and their lineup that they're throwing out there right now, because yeah, they've been getting blown out in most of their games.
They don't even have home court advantage right now because their stadium's kind of empty. I assume part of that is because their prices are probably so high that people can't afford them, and now the rich people that would have went to games don't see them as that hot ticket anymore because they're an awful basketball team. So they don't have a full arena, and their arena's brand new. Apparently it's gorgeous. Apparently it's state of the art, and they're not even filling that thing up right now.
People aren't spending thousands of dollars to watch Marquise Chris play.
Or spending $100 to just hang out in the concourse without getting a seat, because that was their whole thing before the season. I think they might have to scrap that. But they already sold tickets for that. That's the thing. They already sold tickets for that. Like, people were going crazy over these tickets. And right now, that arena is absolutely dead. That's one of the, top fan bases in terms of making noise. Even though I hate the Warriors, hate Warriors bandwagon fans, their arena was tough to play in. They made a lot of noise. But that isn't the case right now. So that's a game we should win. We should at least be able to split these two games. If we don't, that's going to be a failure in my book.
What do you think about their owners saying that they'll never tank?
I mean,
you think it's just saying that?
There's different methods of tanking. Holding out Steph Curry an extra month, saying he's recovering, and then not bringing Klay Thompson back, even though he might be able to play in late March and April, isn't egregious. They could still, look like they're trying to win games, and they'll lose games, and they'll have a good draft pick for it. So I don't think it's taking in the way that they're going to trade away D'Angelo Russell for picks, and they're going to trade away Draymond Green for picks, and to make their roster worse, as well as to get picks. That's kind of the Philadelphia trust the process way of tanking. I think they might be a little bit more cautious with bringing Steph Curry back, and might delay his return, because it's been said he'll be reevaluated in 3 months.
That's crazy.
That's the 1st of February.
Yeah.
And that's just when he'll be reevaluated. That's not when he's projected to come back. So I feel like we'll get to that date, and they'll be like, okay, he's out another month or so. Want to make sure it's completely healed, especially since at that point, that's going to be a lost season for them.
What if D'Angelo leads them to the playoffs without Curry?
I mean, the thing is, it's a win-win scenario for Golden State, because if D'Angelo leads that team somehow to a playoffs, they get Curry back. They get Klay Thompson back possibly by playoffs. I know he said that he won't play, but I think that he has a chance of returning for playoffs. If you're able to get Steph Curry and Klay Thompson back for playoffs with Draymond Green, I'm not ruling Golden State out of winning the championship because of how much success those three have had. And then you can't rule out, they might add somebody to the trade deadline. They might add a buyout guy. So that's the thing. If they're able to overachieve somehow without Steph and push for a playoff spot, they could be a very dangerous team in the playoffs. If they
for
can't,
sure.
if they're awful like we all expect, then they're going to have one of the top picks in the draft next year. And that's going to be scary too, because they could be a team that might win the lottery. And then they bring back Steph, and then they bring back Clay. Both those guys are healthy. Then they could get assets for D'Angelo Russell and have a top pick in the draft. That team could be right back up to being one of the top 3 teams in the league. It could be like the Spurs the year they had David Robinson out.
Yeah, so their pick this year is top 20 protected for Brooklyn
Correct.
as part of the D'Lo trade, and it turns into like a 20-25 second if it doesn't convey. So it almost is better for them if they are worse and keep that pick and it turns into a second. It's kind of crazy to think about the possibilities. Like if this was the Blazers, would you want them to just tank the season?
Yeah, I mean, like if you had Dame out and CJ was out for the year, and the rest of our roster completely sucked, yeah, I'd do it. Just you look at some of the prospects at the top of this next year's draft. I actually like the top of this draft more than last year's draft. And also, we don't know who's going to be at the top of this next year's draft.
Yeah.
At this point last year, Nasir Little was projected to go above Zion Williamson in the NBA draft. That's the thing that people forget, or people didn't pay enough attention back then. And they try and say, oh, well, last year, at this point, obviously you tank because you got Zion Williamson, generational talent. Zion Williamson was not viewed as how Zion Williamson was viewed in December, January, once he started taking college basketball by storm. He wasn't considered generational talent. He was projected to go like 3rd through 5th behind guys like R.J. Barrett, Cameron Reddish, Nasir Little. There's another guy I'm blanking on. Also, John Morant, who's the 2nd overall pick, wasn't projected at all anywhere. He came out of absolute nowhere to become the 2nd overall pick. So you're gonna have guys that come out of nowhere that impress people. That could be great pickups for the Warriors. And that's the thing. If I was in their position, I'd want to tank.
Yeah, if you get a 1st-round pick too from the D'Angelo Russell trade, you're adding like 2 lottery picks potentially, and they could get better in a hurry.
I mean, you look at Minnesota. Minnesota's probably willing to give up their 1st-round pick for D'Angelo Russell. That could be a pick between 8 and 10, and then you add another top 5 pick. They need some depth. They need some young talent, but those picks are high enough where that young talent could have an immediate help. If they were able to get a top pick and draft a guy like James Wiseman, who some people have called next Anthony Davis. I haven't watched enough film on him, but he's an athletic big with a budding skill set. He kind of reminds me a bit of the way Davis was going into college. Maybe not quite the defender that Davis was, because Davis was an amazing defender at Kentucky, but he just has a guy that shows flashes of being able to score kind of in the same way Anthony Davis does and defend at a high level. Like that dude is their center. They could finally fill that spot with an elite talent, with an elite prospect that would help them right away, and then potentially be a top 5, top 10 player down the road when Steph is aging, when Clay is aging. Like, I think Steph Curry breaking his hand was actually a good thing for the Warriors. They weren't going to do anything with him. They looked awful with him.
Yep.
Now they're going to get a top pick in the draft.
And I always think it's bad for teams that are good to not develop talent. Like, for example, the Golden State Warriors this year are just throwing a bunch of horrible guys on the end of the roster instead of having those guys develop over the years, even though you're good. And that's what we were talking about in the offseason with the Blazers, that even though they made the Western Conference Finals last year, they have a group of basically a starting 5 of under 20, 24, 25-year-old guys that all have potential. So if you have injuries like this, you could let the young guys play, but there's no one really on Golden State that you're super excited about young-wise to do.
Yeah,
but the Heat did this for years where they just traded away all their picks. Well, they're still doing that actually, but and so they have LeBron and Wade and Bosh, and they'd always sign someone for the mid-level exception, the Ray Allen types or Mike Miller, guys like that, but they never kept their draft picks, and then when LeBron leaves, they're just horrible because they have no talent on their roster.
Yeah.
So yeah, if they could get, if the Warriors can both get talent on their roster and have it be talent to where it could help them right away, yeah, that's pretty scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like thinking about it, man. I don't like thinking about the possibility of them getting a top 5 pick.
The only good part about
Um,
it is, I mean, those guys are getting pretty old now with Curry. I think he's like 31 or something. So it's the only thing that gives me pause on them starting a new dynasty.
yeah, it was just like last year. It was the Lakers had the 11th best odds in the draft lottery out of 14 teams, and they moved all the way up to 4th. It was like, of course, they're going to move all the way up to 4th. I feel like if Golden State is like in one of the bottom 10, 11 teams, that they're going to somehow find their way into the top 4. The NBA would love that. I'm not saying the draft lottery is rigged. I don't think it's rigged, but the NBA would love for the Warriors to get a top 3 or 4 pick to add to that team, because you talk about the way they'd be marketed. The sleeping giant is awake again. The redemption story for the past dynasty. You know what I mean? Like the comeback team with the new kid on the block type of thing. Like they'd run with that marketing. ESPN would love that too. So I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah, do you think they'd rather have that than have like the Knicks become good again, or like one of the LA teams?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, well, I don't know. The thing is, the Knicks are so much further away
Yeah,
than Golden State
for sure.
that I think they'd rather have Golden State just because, they'd be right back up there. Where if the Knicks got a top 3 pick, they'd still probably be a lottery team. And I don't know, man. I don't know how well the Knicks are marketable at this point. I'm sure if they landed like guys that were already superstars, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, then they'd be one of the most marketable teams in the NBA. But it's going to take some time for them to get back there. They're going to need to hit on multiple top draft picks,
Yeah, for sure.
and build those guys as like household names in order to regain the marketability that New York should have, in order to gain the marketability that Golden State has, or the Lakers have, or even the Clippers have now. So,
Oh, I think the NBA's got to be loving this parody right now, though.
it's competitive, man. I'm paying more attention to other NBA games than I ever have. I mean, because it's competitive, dude. Like we don't know what's going to happen for the first time since I can remember.
And speaking of early season surprises, what are your thoughts on Phoenix? Are they for real?
Yeah, that was the last topic we got to get to that we got planned, and I have no idea what is happening down there in the desert, but that team's playing really, really well. It could just be, they're inspired at the start of the season. Everybody's sleeping on them. They want to quiet the doubters, so they're, playing with a ton of energy on the defensive end. Because that's the thing. Their defense has been surprisingly good. I expect them to be a bottom 5 defense. Their defense has been surprisingly good, but I feel like it could be that start of season motivation and energy. There's some young guys, so I feel like they might just be playing with a ton of energy defensively and catching teams off guard. Once you get into the middle of the season, it's hard to play with that same level of energy. It's hard to keep that start of season motivation going, and teams also will start to take them more seriously.
For sure.
And stop playing down to their level. Well, if Phoenix is 12-8, or Phoenix is, 18-13, teams are going to be like, okay, this is actually a solid team. They've
Right.
proved it over 20, 30 games. Right now, we're just 5 games in, so I don't know. I don't want to say they're a good team yet. A lot of their fans are getting carried away and saying that they're a better team than the Portland Trailblazers. I saw something about that on Twitter. For some reason, all these Phoenix Suns fans are coming out of the woodwork, and I didn't even know they existed. I have never seen a Phoenix Suns fan.
Well, it's one of those things when you're bad for any kind of success is like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah. I
But
don't know. What do you think about them?
They kind of remind me, I think it was 2 years ago when Orlando got off to a hot start and everyone was like, oh, Orlando's finally taking the next step. They're going to make the playoffs and all that stuff. And then they finished with one of the worst records in the East. And
I could have taken a $100 bet on them missing the playoffs, and I just didn't feel comfortable. I remember that. You remember that $100 bet I passed up on Orlando missing the playoffs? This was 2 years ago. Well, not last year, because Orlando
yeah,
actually
yeah,
made it last year. It was 2 years ago. They started, what, 6-0?
something like that.
It
Yeah,
was like, oh, is Orlando for real? Orlando's real. Like, that type of talk. And then they won 30 games or something. Yeah, I should have taken that bet. I'd be $100 richer. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's something that we'll definitely revisit, especially when they play on post game live streams. It's something that it will be very intriguing, and that's the thing. These types of storylines, I love these types of storylines, especially in a wide open Western Conference. It's fun to see teams overachieve a little bit and speculate as to, okay, can they keep this up for a full season, or is this one of those early 5 game flukes? It's hard to predict, honestly.
yeah. I just think in the West, it's just too brutal for them to stick around much longer. They'll be a good story for a while, and then they'll fade.
Yeah.
But they're kind of switching places with Sacramento right now, because Sacramento is just playing like garbage right now.
Yeah. So I'm gonna check in with chat. I haven't done so this whole entire podcast. Thoughts on Portland potentially getting Draymond? Just stay tuned for a video, maybe two. All the trade talk I'm going to save for videos, but then like I also, Eric's opinion matters, of course.
And then,
Your opinion matters.
well, we discussed this on the last post game show, but Draymond's not eligible to be traded till February 3rd, so
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
3 months
But
until
that's
we could even talk about that.
But that's a good quick hitter video
Yeah.
to raise the possibility of Draymond Green. Short 2-3 minute video. People will click on it. And then I'll have my like trade talk videos that I'll start up, and he'll be like the leading guy for the first one. And then after I drop that trade talk video, then I'll get Eric's opinion on maybe his fit. That will be on like the Wednesday podcast next week, maybe next week's Friday podcast. I just want to talk about it in a video. So I see another question about like Gordon Hayward, Aaron Gordon, Danilo. I've talked about Aaron Gordon and Danilo. Haven't really talked about Gordon Hayward, but like those guys I'll talk about in a trade talk video. So go to the mailbag that I posted, the last mailbag I posted, and ask me trade questions, and then I'll answer them in my trade talk video. That's the plan. Godfrey, love the show, guys. Thanks for giving us these streams. Appreciate it, man. Mr. Awesome says Blazers are trash. I think Mr. Awesome is trash. I couldn't resist with that one. Noah Kirkpatrick, Mr. Awesome. I'm pretty sure we want positive messages, not negative. I like positivity. I like positivity more than negativity, so I agree with that. The Husker says, I bet Zach is fine and will start next week. Stotts always likes to keep everyone in suspense, especially opponent scouts. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not ready to say that yet.
I don't see the value in that right now this early in the season.
Yeah, it's not like there's not footage of Zach playing with Whiteside that they couldn't scout if Collins is announced healthy again. But I feel like Stotts would be the type to like want to like keep the fans on the edge of their seats, and you know what I mean, and Olshey too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
Like I feel like they're the types that would want to stick it to the fans a little bit, which they shouldn't do with an injury. Because come on, man, the dude has a dislocated shoulder. We want to know if Zach's okay. Like
They're already doing that with 2 other injuries, so
yeah.
I don't see why
So.
a third one matters that much.
Thoughts on what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say Griffin asked if we collect cards.
Oh,
Do you collect cards?
no. No, I don't.
I used to up until like I was a teenager. I have like the '86 Fleer basketball, like which is considered one of the first basketball sets, and like a lot of rookie cards, like Jordan's rookie card is in there. But I kind of stopped when it got so crazy with like all the extra stuff in it, and it just became.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Card collecting nowadays is a little weird.
Yep. Thoughts on In-N-Out coming to Kaiser, Oregon? How far away is Kaiser, Oregon?
It's like North Salem.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that California Challenge became the North Salem Challenge. Did you ever do the California Challenge? You drive all the way to In-N-Out and all the way back in one day?
I have not done it just for In-N-Out, but I've definitely gone out of my way on road trips to go to In-N-Out, yes.
Yeah. Stargamer88 fan. Here we go. Oh, he's a Suns fan. I guess that's where we're getting these Suns fans because I put Phoenix in the title, and I guess
Okay.
Suns fans are finding it. But if you think Suns are better than the Blazers already, then I'm just going to. Then you are the definition of biased, and you're the definition of an overreaction. So chill on the Suns better than the Blazers stuff. The Blazers equals Garbo because you just sound uneducated, and it's not a good look for you, my man. So enjoy your team doing well without trashing other fan bases. We just made the Western Conference Finals, and you're saying you can't believe that people think we're good. What about the people who thinks Phoenix good? What has Phoenix done?
They're 3-2.
What has Phoenix done since Nash? They're 3-2. So, all right. So Eric got to go. I'll wrap up this podcast. Eric has a busy man. You got your work and stuff to take care of, huh?
Yep.
His party store. So thanks for doing this with me. I'll wrap up this podcast. Maybe see you tomorrow night on the post-game show. I don't know, but I'll catch you later, man.
Sounds. Listen, everyone. Catch you later. Go Blazers.
Yes, sir. My bed's a mess. But I don't care. You guys see that in the back right now because I'm full screen. I gotta mute Eric. There we go. End the call. Because the Denver Nuggets is an easy team, my guy. Let me move my camera and stare directly into it so I can talk with this Stargamer88 guy. I love battling trolls in the live chat. Yeah, apparently the Denver Nuggets is an easy team. Apparently OKC with Russell Westbrook and Paul George is an easy team. Dude, I don't understand Suns fans. Why are you guys so like, I don't know, why are you guys trashing so many other fan bases? Like, just enjoy your 3-2 record. That's all it is a 3-2 record. You guys literally haven't accomplished anything. You guys are still probably going to finish on one of the bottom 3 teams of the Western Conference. I don't understand why you guys are so feisty right now. I don't understand why all you guys are on Twitter trying to say that you're better than every other team in the West and that you're going to the NBA Finals. You have literally no All-Stars. CJ McCollum is better than your star. If he was the number one option, he'd be doing more than Devin Booker is right now. Okay, you guys are overachieving as a young team, and you know what's sad is that you're overachieving by being 3-2. So don't come in here trying to trash my Blazers. We made the Western Conference Finals. You probably don't even know what that is. We were a step away from the NBA Finals last year. I know that seems like a foreign concept to you Suns fans, but I could put you in your place a little bit more. But if I'm gonna hide your comments from this channel, my guy. There you go. Hide user from channel. Bye. Anyway, if you guys have any other questions for me, I'll answer them before I bow out on this podcast. Lil Bekele, I don't know how to say some of these names, but I try. He says, I feel like the Nets aren't going to have a great record. Nets are a team that Eric had projected to miss the playoffs. I didn't end up coming out with my Eastern Conference standings predictions, but they're a team that, with Kyrie's a good player, but outside of Kyrie, they don't have a whole lot of talent. They're kind of the media darling because they signed Kyrie and Durant, but of course Durant's not going to have any impact there. They already lost to Minnesota on opening night at home. They lost to the Grizzlies on the road. Jay Crowder hit a buzzer-beating 3. Nets might not make the playoffs, honestly. Joshua Collins says, what happened to your messages? Just had a Suns fan spamming it, saying how the Suns are better than the Blazers and the Blazers got lucky and Denver's an easy team and all this stuff. That's kind of the way that Suns fans have been since starting 3-2. It was funny because a few minutes ago we referenced how Suns fans are talking so much trash even though they haven't done anything. They have done absolutely nothing, but Suns fans are on Twitter talking about how much better they are than the Blazers, than other Western Conference teams. Apparently the Denver Nuggets is an easy team to beat, stuff like that. And then we have this perfect example of that come in right after we mentioned that. We have this Stargamer88 guy just comes in and just starts talking nonsense, man. So, um, I actually like when trolls like that come in because I like to clown them. So I hit him though because he was spamming chat. I couldn't take 10 messages in a row. So rest in peace to Phoenix, yes sir. Rest in peace to Stargamer88 because he's probably trying to post messages, but we ain't seeing them. I predict Blazers fourth seed. That's a pretty good prediction. Prediction for first seed in the West. It was Clippers, but with their load management, with Paul George being out, it's kind of hard to say. It's a bunch of teams bunched together. You got Utah. I almost said Phoenix. Phoenix definitely isn't up there. You got Utah, Houston, Denver, the LA teams, Portland, and Golden State was in that top tier before this season, but now they're not. So you got 6 teams in the top tier. The LA teams, Portland, Denver, Houston. There's Utah. That's the top 6. So any of those teams could finish number 1 in my opinion. It's too early to tell. When is Collins returning? We just talked about Collins for a while. I know you're probably late joining David Kutsar, so after I wrap this up, maybe click back in it. Probably about the I don't know, the 20-minute mark is when we were talking about Zach Collins. Suns for real. Is Lightning another Suns fan? I think we have a chance to make the playoffs. See, like that's how Suns fans should be. I mean, like optimistic. Not saying you're better than the best teams in the Western Conference already. So yeah, I mean, like Suns are a solid team, man. Much more solid than I thought. Definitely surprised me. I just wonder if they can keep it up. They're playing with a lot of energy and a chip on their shoulder. I'm wondering if that can last them throughout an entire season. Of course, they don't have Ayton right now, so if Ayton is a better player, taking that second-year jump, getting him back will be a boost as well. So, 8th seed at best, that would be an accomplishment for that team. Many people had them projected as the worst team in the West. So if you guys could get an 8th seed in the West, then that would definitely be a huge surprise. One of the biggest surprises for a playoff team in past years. So I think that's something fun for Suns fans to root for, to look at. And then you got some young talent you're developing that that is fun to watch. Like, Suns aren't in a bad position right now. The thing is, long term, it would be better for them to miss the playoffs and get a really good pick and add yet another talented star prospect to that rotation they have. They need another guy with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, another star prospect. Maybe a Cole Anthony at point guard to solve your guys' point guard issues. He would be a good guy to have. I don't know. I'm kind of blanking on some of the prospects. Maybe a star wing. There's some foreign prospects that look pretty good. So Phoenix is in a solid position, though. I just think it's funny how some Phoenix fans are talking so much trash, talking about how the Blazers suck and the Suns are automatically better already, and the Blazers got lucky in the playoffs last year, and Suns are gonna, make a deep playoff run. And it's just like, just relax. We'll see what happens with them, and we'll see what they can do. I feel like Dame is giving up the ball to CJ more this year and wants him to be by his side at the All-Star game. CJ struggled, though, man. CJ's not playing like an All-Star right now. He's not shooting the ball well. I don't know. His defense is always kind of iffy. He's not really making plays for others. His stats don't look too great. So it's not really working all that well. I wish Dame would be a little bit more aggressive early on in the game. I want Dame to play for an MVP. He's kind of just waiting until the fourth and then absolutely going off. I wish he would do that in the first 3 quarters so we wouldn't have such close games in the fourth, because every single game has been within 8 points this season. I'd love to get a blowout win. So Ro Burnham says, do I like how the Blazers are playing so far? It's a mixed bag. Their offense is kind of iffy to me. Their offensive sets are iffy to me. They're lacking some big man depth right now. They're hurt. Their defense has been spotty. 3-point defense was horrible the first couple games. I like that they've improved that, but also they haven't been going up against great 3-point shooting teams. The Thunder and the Spurs aren't great 3-point shooting teams, so it's kind of, I don't know. I haven't really made any definitive conclusions, or I don't have any definitive opinions on the way the team has been playing right now. I'm still just kind of trying to see what they're going to give us. After Dame Jr. was born, Senior has been on another level. That's true. If you guys have any other questions for me, I'm glad to answer them before I bow out of here. We're at a solid 45 minutes right now. I'm going to try and keep these podcasts around 45 minutes to an hour. Do I see the Mavs making the playoffs? I don't know. I wasn't super high on the Mavs going into the season, to be quite honest with you. And that's just because I thought their role players weren't all that good. But so far this season, their role players have looked better than I've expected. They had that game where they had 9 players scoring between 10 and 14 points, and they knocked off Denver. Mavs are impressive, 3-1, good start. Portland was able to beat them in the game that Zach Collins got hurt. But with Golden State falling out, I honestly do expect the Mavs to be that 8th place playoff team. San Antonio will probably be 7th in my opinion. Mavs 8th. I had Kings as my first team out of the playoffs, but they've looked awful. The Pelicans I thought would be up there. Zion got hurt, and they haven't looked good either. So I think the Mavs right now are the favorite for that 8th seed. David Kissar, gotta go. Keep up the good work, man. God bless. Thanks for tuning in, man. I appreciate it. I think the Blazers need one more star to really kick it off. Yeah, I mean, getting a guy like Blake Griffin, that's been my guy. That's been the guy I've wanted us to go after. I'm rooting against Detroit. I want them to lose so that we can go after Blake for a trade, because that would be a guy that would fit perfectly. He has his injury issues, but would be that star that we need to really take a massive jump. Do we need another point guard? I don't think so. It would be helpful off the bench, but right now big man depth is more of a concern. Anthony can run point. Kent Bazemore, I think, could play point off the bench in a pinch. CJ can slide over to point guard. It might not be the best solutions, but they're solutions in case of emergency for Bazemore and CJ playing point guard. And then Hazonia can be a little bit of a point forward, even though he's struggling with picking up the sets right now. So I think we have enough ball handlers where we don't need to pick up another point guard. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in on this Friday. I hope you guys have a good weekend. Be safe out there if you're going out and partying, having fun. I'll be, putting out some content here and there. I got, homework and life stuff to do. So whatever it is you're doing this weekend, hope you have a good one. I appreciate all your guys' support and tuning in for the channel. I appreciate you guys supporting this thing as I work towards growing it, as I work towards building this platform. So anyway, that's it for me. This has been Tori. I was with my co-host Eric Brandt. Got to sign off for him as well. With that being said, peace out. Go Blazers.